Hello everyone, I'm Carrie Dellinger and this is my interview presentation with an individual in middle adulthood, ages 34 to 60. This is the description of the interviewee. Johnny, he is a single Caucasian male who is 54 years old. He is currently residing with his cousin and uncle. He pays about $20 a day when he can. Also, he frequently moves from house to house. He's been now employed as Frontier Spinning Mills as a technician, works third shift. He has seasonal jobs during the day, working with about 5 different farmers into chopping wood. He seeks side jobs that pay cash. He has 2 brothers, 2 sisters, and his mother is the only one living. The father died through lung disease. He was raised on a tobacco farm. He has a son who is 18 years old and he's about to graduate from high school. He sees him about once a month. He quit high school in 11th grade. He has explored different types of employment from NATO to CarQuest. He's never got married. The longest relationship was 1 year. He recently fell in the bathroom and had to go to the hospital. He was numb from the waist down. And I will describe some other details in special circumstances slide. Here is some of the special circumstances for Johnny. He is taking a leave of absence from his public job because of the recent fall in the bathroom. He was diagnosed with neuropathy. They couldn't find any other causes for it. Maybe diabetes, but there are possibilities. He has to go see a neurologist for that. He is living with family members. After selling the trailer in a trailer park because it was too loud and he never got enough sleep. He plans to get a trailer from his boss man's friend who owns the chicken farm and also worked for him too. He contracted TB when visiting his grandmother in the nursing home after work. He went there every day. He does not have license because of a DWI. He has to get a ride home from work to home. He's been treated for alcoholism in an inpatient rehab center. He receives public assistance for the hospital bill. It was cut in half, and he has the Assurance wireless cell phone, 250 minutes that are free, and food stamps. He was incarcerated for neglecting to pay his child support for 17 years. He was put on the most wanted list. In recent occasional feelings of depression because of his current situation. He was able to accomplish most of all of these tasks in this stage, I believe. Managing a career, he works at Frontier spinning yarn as a technician. He stocks the make sure that their spools are all the machines have the yarn. He is willing to develop new set of skills through a variety of jobs that he has had in the past and current. He recently seeks side works opportunity and he was employed prior to this current public job besides working in the tobacco, which is only during the spring and summer months. He works on a tobacco farm also with 5 different farmers, and it consists of planting, chopping, topping, priming, and baling. And for nurturing a intimate relationship, he has got to be able to see his son at least once a month. He talks to him, he provides advice and encouragement, and this is new. They first met about a year ago. actually in the courtroom. He provides financial support for his mother and sister. He's committed to offering assistance and support when needed. He doesn't report any interpersonal interactions and commitment with women on an intimate level for the last 10 years. Here are a couple other developmental tasks: expanding caring relationships, examples, parenting, business, 1 month visitation. Even though it isn't much, it is some. He is providing support with the child with a monthly check. He is caring for an aging mother who is 80 years old. He is also right now caring for a disabled uncle who is living with him, who has actually been disabled since birth. So he helps provide meals and quality time to talk with each other. They listen to stories about the past, and his uncle shows him watches and stuff like that. Managing a household, even though he doesn't have his own house, he is trying to keep the house clean, vacuuming, sweeping, mopping floors. He mows the yard with a weed eater. He doesn't really use the lawnmower because it's not his and he doesn't want to break it. So, in this household, it's very unique. It consists of a single mother who is with her 2-year-old child and a disabled uncle. And the single mother is his cousin. And him, Johnny, which is currently homeless and not really employed, even though he's on the leave of absence. He doesn't really actually pay the bills, but he helps out through the month. And this may be through a couple 20s here and there, or he does use his food stamps to supply the household with monthly groceries. Based on Johnny's age, he is in the current psychosocial crisis of generativity and stagnation. For generativity, he describes a sense of making a difference in other people's lives, especially his uncle's, who is disabled. He serves as a mentor in the workplace, teaching them skills or training for both in the spinning mills and in the tobacco farm. He is willing to try new experiences and listen to others and show respect to different opinions. He seeks to meet new people and develop new skills on a daily basis. He forms caring relationships with his siblings, uncle, aunts. He describes being able to talk to her about anything. Parents, his mother, because she is the only one living. Her father died from lung cancer. And his friends, but most recently his son. He has a creative ability when trying to solve problems. He describes a generative concern, commitment, action, and narrative. When he recounted his meaning in regards to helping family members like his uncle, mother, and sister with their financial needs. And he is very committed to spending personal time to enhance their world. For stagnation, he does not experience chronic depression or narcissism behaviors that was described under a section in the book. He does have insufficient investment in himself. He doesn't focus much on himself as he does with improving other people's lives or investing in them. He has lack of commitment to intimate relationships with women. He really isn't interested in dating, and he hasn't dated in the last 10 years. He drinks on occasion when it's stressed out, but he reports being sober for the last 3 weeks since the accident has happened. He doesn't reject different values or beliefs. He is open to new experiences that can foster self-development, except when it comes to the intimate relationships with women. Overall, I think he was able to uh, develop more so on the generativity skill. I think Johnny is having a positive navigation in the central process. The personal environment interactions, daily interactions with various family members. This consists of actual face-to-face actions, interactions, and um, through the telephone. He has expectations of decent manners, especially when living in another person's house. Um, he is the one to say yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, excuse me. Very, very, very polite. Resources of public. He has resources that consist of public assistance and a public job, but he also has side jobs too. Um, and this allows him to uh, interact with more people in in the environment with outside work. He receives and offers social support. He describes having a good social support system currently. He is very creative. Is he has a tendency to abandon old forms or patterns of doing things in favor of new ways of completing tasks. He his accomplishments is in generating uh, creative solutions to or solving problems. Willing to use imagination. He has artistic abilities when with making cement figurines. This is another side job he has. It consists of angels, rabbits, squirrels, bird bath. He really enjoys this type of job. And also doing repair work would classify under the creativity part. According to the details discussed in the interview, I believe Johnny developed the prime adaptive ego quality care. He is willing to expand his commitment to caring for family members. He has close or has developed close relationships and concern for siblings and mothers, in addition to friends. Um, he promotes the welfare of people. He helps out his disabled uncle with meal preparation and housework, especially since he's out of work. He cares for another person's development and functioning. He can develop this quality or care um, through his recent parenting experiences or ongoing close relationships with family and friends. And he finds new energy and options to express care, from repairing cars to buying someone a flower. Basically, this quality is built on hope and will, purpose and skill, and fidelity and love. For Johnny, I don't think he really developed the core pathology of receptivity. He wants to embrace all individuals and the different ideas. He doesn't view differences as threats or with feelings of hostility. He avoids the rejection of others. He's pretty open-minded. Even though he has Christian beliefs, he may not conform to society's norms as far as same-sex marriage. But he does respect their opinion and their freedom of speech and their rights. He doesn't doubt his ability to move forward, achieve goals, or his ability to make meaningful contributions to society. So overall, despite his special circumstances, he was able to avoid this pathology. Now I will discuss Johnny's navigation through the previous psychosocial crisis. Intimacy versus isolation. He was able to establish intimacy for the most part during these ages. He had an open and supportive relationships with women without feeling his loss of identity. He does describe feelings, doesn't describe feelings or consequences associated with isolation or the inability to experience a shared meaning. He has developed an overall sense of love, especially with family members. During the stage, he had he was able to establish intimacy, passion, and commitment, even though he reports the longest relationship being 1 year. So, on that aspect, commitment was difficult, I would say, because he sometimes felt like they were on inconsistent paths. But they were able to end the relationships on good terms. Developmental tasks. He explored several intimate relationships during this stage. Was his main focus and continues to be his main focus for the most part, but family is also. His lifestyle enjoys exercising, moving around, staying busy, and this also helps his mental well-being, he states. And childbearing, he really didn't have a child until the early in middle adulthood. But overall, I think he successfully resolved this crisis. Even though he does experience maybe some isolation towards developing intimate relationships in his current developmental stage. Um, the explanation for how the previous psychosocial crisis affects the current psychosocial crisis, the ability to develop the prime-adaptive ego quality of love prepared him for the next psychosocial crisis. He is more likely to obtain the quality of care, since both of these terms sort of go hand in hand. Maintain healthy relationships with family and friends. Lacking of exclusivity or shutting people out. He doesn't report any feelings of jealousy or anger or resentment after the relationship breakups, which can transcend into aspects about rejectivity. Ability to establish intimacy, in contrast to isolation for the most part during this stage. He was willing to explore several intimate relationships, even though they didn't last that long. And this would be showed through his lifestyle, work, not really childbearing, but also exploring intimate relationships. There are multiple counseling or educational interventions that I would consider for Johnny. I would first recommend a physical examination, follow up with a test of what caused the incident in the fall, and receive a full psychological evaluation. First of all, individual and group counseling would be very beneficial for him, especially a mental health counselor. They can use cognitive behavioral techniques, support groups, Alcoholic Anonymous. That's a good support group. Is the 12-step program. It's religious based, which would be a good option for him. Contact healthcare provider about prescriptions. He mentions how he was supposed to be prescribed a medication, but he doesn't have the prescription at his pharmacy. So I encouraged him to maybe follow up with the healthcare provider who prescribed the prescriptions for medication. Attend the next doctor's appointment with a neurologist. This can help identify the triggers that could cause his fall. Talk to someone like close family members, especially about his current situation and how that is impacting his feelings. Keep in touch with his son, have father-son bonding time, or other members like mom and sister. I would also consider family counseling if that is the option he would like to explore with his son. He doesn't need to neglect personal needs for the sake of providing another person's needs, even though it's important. He needs to be able to set healthy boundaries. More knowledge on his current diagnosis, like what the prescription is for. He can consider internet searches or ask questions for his primary care doctor. Substance abuse counseling could be a good option for him since he has been described as being treated for alcoholism in the past. So maybe he would like to continue working on that, education on the stages of change, and also relapse prevention. And this would be a good time, especially since now he's starting to go back since his accident. Motivational interviewing would be important for the smoking and alcohol cessation. And he does report cutting back on cigarettes and alcohol, which is good. And the papers that he received from the hospital visit, they recommended a lot of these interventions to consider after being diagnosed with neuropathy and being put out of work. Thank you for listening to this presentation.